So it's a time of the year again where we start a new semester. And now I know that the previous semester has been hard for us, especially now that we are still adapting in the new system of learning. So today I will be sharing with you guys how I prepare for a new semester, plus some tips that I use on how to survive the previous semester of online classes. Without further ado, let's get on with the video. Preparing for school essential. So preparing for the school obviously starts with enrolling to your classes, checking for your schedule, paying for your tuition fee if you have, and purchasing the books that you need. In terms of purchasing books, there are a lot of PDF of reference books you can find on the internet. So if you want to save a lot of money, opt for digital books instead of purchasing an actual physical book. I am more fond of physical books because I like the idea of highlighting and annotating on actual paper rather than just reading on my screen. But as I realized during the first semester, I was not able to utilize the book that much and just use the PDF version. This is because I write my notes digitally and I prefer seeing the book and my notes side by side instead of straining my eyes from looking back and forth to the book and to my iPad. However, if you want to prevent eye strain from looking at your screens for too long, I suggest printing out a chapter of the book one by one. Because let's also face it, not every chapter of the book will be discussed. Second is to declutter your gadgets. It is important to declutter unnecessary files from your gadgets, especially from your laptop, since we use it for the majority of the day. Freeing up space can make your files look somewhat organized and prevents your gadgets from slowing down. I would also declutter my iPad since I use it during my online classes to take down notes. This helps me remove the files that I really don't need and to avoid confusion from other files and to make my iPad less chaotic. Next will be setting up and organizing my schedule. Our schedule was given to us during enrollment. Here, I use the app called ClassUp to make my schedule more organized according to its timetable. It also makes use of the 16 by 9 dimensions so you can make it as your wallpaper on your phone. I also printed my schedule and placed it on my desk so I can easily see my schedule whenever I forget them. So this is my schedule for the upcoming semester and here are my subjects. To be honest, I'm quite surprised to see my schedule to be this flexible because from the past semesters, I've had 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. classes starting from Monday to Saturday. I also made my weekly schedule so that I'll have a glimpse of what my day will become for the whole week. I usually do this so that I can form an everyday routine. But disclaimer, this is only ideal and I may or may not be following it. So later in this video, I will delve in as to why I make such schedules for my whole week. Now moving on to the second part of this video, survival tips for online classes. The first tip I'm gonna share with you guys is to not procrastinate and take down all requirements and to-do lists. Okay, so this one's too cliche, but procrastination is one factor that really affected my mental health negatively during the past semester. Since online class started, it's hard to juggle having to attend synchronous discussions, watching pre-recorded videos, reviewing, and complying to all requirements. I know that it's easier said than done, but if we really want to avoid stressing out during exam week because of the overlapping requirements and reviewing, we need to make sure that we avoid cramming our work even though sometimes it's inevitable. So the first thing I do is to make sure that I write down all of my requirements, check my Google Calendar, and sometimes I would ask my classmates if my list of requirements are complete. I would also open my good notes, add a monthly planner, and write down the important dates such as our quizzes and due dates. Writing down the exam week is the most important thing I would do because I would base my schedule on the dates of our exam. When I'm done with writing the important dates on my planner, I usually make a list of what I will be doing for the specific week. Let's say 3 weeks before the exam, I will put complete all notes, attend classes, start doing the assignment, and then for the second week of the exam, I will place finish all requirements. And then for the last week before the exam, it will be my review period. The most important thing to consider here is that even though you have all the lists, you need to make sure that you're very strict in following the schedule you made. Although there may be instances where your professor suddenly gave you an assignment, in this way, your task wouldn't be more stressful as compared to before when you still have to wait for the last minute before doing your work. Second is to always attend to your classes. There will be times when you feel like there's no point in attending classes because your professor just reads the PowerPoint, and even when you're tempted to skip the session because you can just rewatch it in another time, you won't watch it, guys. Believe me, as a college student in the medical field, most of our classes and requirements take up most of our time and you barely get enough sleep. So even when you say that you will watch a discussion later, there's a high chance that you will not be watching it. So, in attending classes, make sure to stay focused by limiting your distraction, taking down notes, and by answering your professor's questions once in a while. Third is to make condensed notes at every end of the lesson. At every end of the chapter, I force myself to do some condensed notes. This doesn't have to be comprehensive, so I just take down the most important concepts that I need to remember, as well as some topics that needs to be memorized. I also put the important topics that I know that I'll forget during the exam. This tip can really help you during finals exam when you have no time to study all the lessons again. So the fourth one is to create a routine, but make it realistic. As I've shown you a while ago, I made a weekly routine for this semester. And disclaimer lang, this is only an ideal setup of what will happen to my whole week. So having a routine somehow gives me a sense of direction and it keeps me on track of what I'm doing. I make sure that the activities I do are placed on the best time for me so that it will be very effective. I'm not a morning person, so I don't force myself to wake up very early unless I needed to. I also put my reviewing time or academic time in the afternoon till night because I feel more focused and awake during these times compared to morning. I also don't put a lot of other activities that I need to do because I'm sure that I can't keep up with it in the long run. And lastly, study by habit and not solely by motivation. Finding motivation these days is very difficult, and that's why it is important to make a studying habit, because even when you don't have a lot of motivation to study or read, you would still have that drive to open your notes and lecture because you're already used to studying every day. At first, there will be times when you have to force yourself to study, but when you get the hang of it, you'll realize that studying becomes easier for you. You can start small and make your way up until you can study every day, depending on how long you want to study. This can be done by reading a couple of pages from a reference book or writing your notes one page at a time, then progressively adding it up day after day until the study habit you want is achieved. And that's it for my video. I hope you learned something today and remember to work hard and make it happen. Bye!